This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall getting platinum rank for this week's GM, which is Lake of Shadows. This is a standard run, if I'm being honest. The only twist to the run is that I'm using the exotic sidearm Forerunner, which works differently to any other sidearm in the game. Basically, I was wanting to do an exotic sidearm run, so my ideas were either Devil's Ruin, Final One in the Strand sidearm, or Forerunner. And because I wanted to quickly get a run done, I just went with Forerunner because that's the best sidearm out of the three. Devil's Ruin's fun and all, but it's got no range. Final Warning is an interesting sidearm because there's some details that people are sort of not sure about on the gun itself. Nor am I. I've barely used the sidearm, but apparently it is good. But I have yet to see one single solo video show me that Final One in Strand sidearm is good. But I've seen videos saying that it is good, but I have yet to test at all, do anything about that. But yeah, I went with Forerunner because it's a safe bet out of the three sidearms that I was going to go with, and it destroys barriers. I know we've got Radiant, and I know that we have that, but just imagine for one moment that we didn't have Radiant in the game. Or we didn't have infinite radiant, is what I'm saying. Not radiant itself, but the infinite radiant when you get precision shots. Just imagine for one moment you didn't have it, and you didn't want to use Wish Ender, or you didn't want to use Arbalest, then this is an option that you could use because it melts barrier champs. With it being, with the way it's made, it's not a sidearm, it's more like a rapid fire hand cannon with range. That's more what that's the more accurate description for it. But in the game, it's classed as a barrier. It's classed as a sidearm, and it's barrier sidearm this season, which people aren't really taking advantage of too much. These are the rocket sidearms that people are using. I just don't have a good role. I was wanting to do an indebted kindness sidearm run, but I don't have a good role to show you off. I'm sorry, I can't do anything. I was really wanting a deconstruct roll or something, but all I'm getting is attrition orbs on the sidearm. So it's not interesting, so I wasn't, you know, if I'd got the role for indebted kindness, I would have run an indebted kindness run with probably an exotic heavy or an exotic primary, whichever, and done a run like that. But until I get the role, then I can't. And it's a shame because that sidearm in particular melts the freshers, and I could have showcased it off in this solo. So with the what do you call these? The Splinter Progress, these little decoy boat thingies, right? If you leave a Cabal enemy alive from the unstoppable champion spawn that you just saw, if you leave at least one ad alive, it can be any ad, doesn't have to be the unstop, just any ad, then you will stop the taken spawn, the first initial taken spawn. You can then stop the second initial, the second spawn, taken spawn after that as well by doing the exact same thing, by leaving one Cabal enemy alive. So in the first scenario, I left a legionary up. It can be the dog, it can be, actually there was a dog still alive, a Cabal dog. But you do that and then you hide from them, then you capture the ship. This saves so much time on the entrance. So be clear on what I've just did. If you're unsure, ask, but I have explained it. Now what I'm going to do is decoy the unstoppable champion well away from the boat thing. I forget the name of these things, honestly. Right? And then we're going to go and collect progress on this. And then we'll get another stun. Right? And then just do progress. That Cabal enemy at the back, if you do kill him or he gets killed by any environmental damage or something like that, or, you know, incandescent killing him, you will get the first taken spawn that we've already skipped. So you get actually two back-to-back taken spawns if you mess it up. Like if you messed up the unstoppable as well. So don't kill the unstop. This unstop, don't kill. Just keep stopping him so that you don't die. That is it. This is how you do the skips. Then you detonate. The detonation off the ship will then kill surrounding enemies. But it will also spawn in the second wave of taken enemies. But by that time, you escape. It's brilliant, and it's easy to do, and it is a cheese. There is a lot of cheese in this game, and like with GMs that you don't like League of Shadows and stuff, use them because they're not bothered to patch them, Bungie. So just use them, and it's not affecting that much of the player base for them to be bothered about it anyways. because mainly people are running GMs in teams anyways, right? Which those people are going to melt everything with machine guns and what have you anyway, and restoration. So it's not affecting enough people for them to even care about it. So if they don't care about it, then you shouldn't either. If you're a solo player that just wants to come in and solo it, use these strats. I wouldn't, you know, there's no pride in this at this minute in time, because GMs are very, very easy right now. There's no pride in it. You're looking to get some loot. The adept weapon is Undercurrent, a Waveframe GL, I believe. Is it Arc, I think? It's decent. I believe it's a decent weapon. I've done barely any tests on it. I might have seen one video on it. So I'm not the person to ask about the GL. But if you do want to farm that GL that's up, right, then this is a way that these strats that I'm showing you is a good way of going around doing that. That's actually really good damage that Forerunner just did there. I'm trying to showcase its burst damage off. So with debuff, right, off the Celestial Fire melee, because obviously you can debuff them via Revitalize and Blast, we almost one cycle a unstop. That's really good damage. In general, if you need precision damage burst in a small amount of time, with a boss being awkward that's mobile, let's take Arkelos from Spire of the Watcher. It's perfect gun for things like that, right? Or Tormentors even. It's really good gun on Tormentors. If you didn't see Salter Grapos when he went for a Wicked Implement and soloed it in the 10-minute timer, he used Forerunner. If you remember that, people should remember that. And, you know, use Forerunner. Why? Because it's convenient precision damage for awkward targets, and that's what this gun's role is, right? But when it's barrier sidearm up, its role is also barrier champs. I know we've got Radiant and it overshadows it, but like I said, if you didn't have Infinite Radiant, then you would see a lot more people using Forerunner. It's fantastic. It has got the catalyst with the rock, which, to be honest, half the time we forget to use that thing. I feel as though the grenade doesn't do enough damage anyways. It also overrides your healing nade. It sort of interferes with your build a little bit. The rock sort of set up with the gun. So yeah, it's got that feature where you get more grenades and stuff, but by the time you like activate the perk then throw the gun, the ads have already hit you half HP. What's the point really? There's not much point in it for like a GM solo and using it in that fashion. In other styles of content, maybe in dungeons and stuff and lower end stuff, it might have a little place, but you don't see me firing or throwing a lot of rock grenades from the exotic perk. So we're going to bait this Unstoppable Champion away from the ads. To do that, just don't stun, obviously, and let the unstop come to you. We'll get our Celestial Fire plus Forerunner damage. We're going to try and spam Forerunner a little bit for damage-wise, just to see how it performs in GM content, because that's what this video really is. The idea of it is really not to show you a fast run. Optimized slightly, because the energy weapon and the heavy weapon are correct weapons that you would run in this if you were using exotic primary. So if you were using exotic primary, say Revision 0, which is starting to be in the meta now, by the way, Revision 0. I can't believe I'm saying that now, but it actually is, with the buffs that it got at the start of the season, with the massive damage to champions and stuff. It just melts, and the sniper mode is really satisfying on it. But yeah, I'm using partial meta weapons, and Forerunner is kind of not meta for solo GM environment. But it is a very good gun. It's not a bad gun by any means. It's not me messing around saying, I'm using this gun, it's difficult. Look, no, it actually is a good gun. Just there are better options in this environment on what I'm doing exactly. So we'll spam a bit of LMG. Obviously it's fixed odds with enhanced perks. I've already said it, like at the start of the season, I already told people, look, the best machine gun this season is fixed odds. And you're going to see a lot of people using it because of restoration and stuff. So if you're somebody that hasn't crafted this gun and you are using Avalanche, stop what you're doing. Put things down, stop what you're doing, don't use Avalanche. Because Avalanche is another solo. There isn't a lot of solo machine guns, if we're being honest, legendary wise, right? That's why you see people using fixed odds. But don't use Avalanche because there is a hindrance against it, and I'll talk about it in a bit. First, I'll just commentate on what's exactly happening here. So I want to pop a healing nade plus get a kill. We don't quite get the kill in time, which I thought that goblin would die, but he didn't. So our restoration chain kill has we've lost it. So we've got to retreat. So we'll go behind this tree, pop a healing rift. You can't stop the taken enemy spawn, although I haven't actually tested it. Maybe if you leave Cabal enemies up, you can, but that Cabal enemy would chase you. So the benefit of doing that. So the Cabal enemy spawn just before this, the one with the unstoppables, I bet it would be the same strat. If you leave a Cabal enemy up, it would stop this spawn, probably. But would that be worth it? Maybe not, because the Cabal enemy might just chase you until you kill him. And then when you do kill him, these taken enemies would spawn up anyways. So it probably wouldn't even be worth doing. Just kill him. You could have used the super, but I don't recommend that you do, because you want to use a super on the boss. I'm just checking out a strat because there's a video I saw the other day there of Kia Players where he stood up here. I was thinking about maybe doing that, but I couldn't be asked with the hassle of learning it. So that's why I didn't do it. But you can actually just stand up here and the boss will, the Gambit Boss will, you can do damage to the boss. From the last time I played Lake of Shadows, I feel as though they've nerfed this guy. Not in terms of his HP, but just in terms of how he moves and attacks you. He felt docile compared to usual. I haven't been keeping an eye on twabs or twids. I haven't been keeping an eye on much things with Destiny 2 really since the new year. So I'm not sure if they have, but when I was fighting him, it was noticeable compared to what it was like for me near Christmas when I done this. Compared to now, like the boss was barely, moving about too much. He was behaving and cooperating with me a little better for damage. So that was nice. So we'll just melt down this barrier champ with Forerunner. There's a brick behind me, so I'm full back to 72. And then we'll just take down these gladiators. I'm going to save a bit of machine gun ammo because you don't need max. I mean, you have got a enhanced field prep machine gun with double heavy ammo finder on the helmet, which yes, they do stack. So don't go overboard with saving ammo, but I'm going to save a little bit just because it's nice to have a bit of machine gun ammo for the wizards, because the wizards tend to, especially with the way I'm dealing with them, they go in and out. They just drain your time. That's all they do. They just drain time because you take the shield down, then they go to cover, then you got to wait again. Which you see, as I say in the footage, like I say, save a super. You'll be rewarded if you do, because we're not using an exotic primary, because Fortress is energy special. It's not an exotic primary. Our damage is going to suffer on the meatball section because he is tanky. So you want to use a Dawn Chorus Daybreak Super. Right? That will get you a third damage. We'll speed up the footage from here because, well, just below a third. We'll speed the footage up because it's really boring to commentate on this fight. It really is. This fight, what is the point on it? I really don't understand. There should always be a point to an engagement in a GM. Right? And generally, there is in most GMs, especially the older GMs. There's a point to 90% of what we do in them. Right? This fight, however, I can't fathom why or what they decided to do with this, like, just taking stuff on the floor. I understand that. Like, that stuff shouldn't be there. Alright? What this fight should be is the meatball spawns in, and you have to rotate around the map while trying to kill him. With no taking stuff on the floor. Maybe some taking stuff in the middle, and you rotate around, you do damage to him. And that's how the fight should go. It shouldn't be where we're finding cheese spots to get through it quicker. Because that's what people are doing. There's a couple of cheese spots. So there's one at the back side of the map, so the opposite side of where you're looking at. So the opposite side of where I am now, where you're at this fence and you've got to jump up and do damage. Then there's the place I showed you before, which I was going to use but didn't. There's even a place you can stand up on the top of a building, which isn't really useful, but you can. So there's different ways of dealing with him, but I just dealt with him the classic way of just doing it from here, and he actually cooperated with me and not. He didn't de-aggro and go behind the wall. That's what you don't want. You want him there to be damaged. So obviously you get a phase of wizards at a third HP and then the final third. But when you get the boss to half HP, sorry, just below half HP, you get the taken bit, where you've got to destroy the blights. So the blight things spawn in different places. It's just really the nature of it. But this is a point where you can wipe. That's why I've slowed it down, just to show you, you know, you've got to make sure you've got the right resistance on, right, to take the risk to get hit. Because you're taking the risk to get hit by taking down the blights, but the boss is going to keep hitting you with that void stuff. So what protects you against the void stuff that the boss does? Well, it's void resist, obviously, it's in the name, but also concussive dampener. So in that third slot on your chest plate, I see people, they run the wrong mods. They might run a armor charge based mod in that third slot. No, it's such a bad move. Like if you're uncharged up or something, why are you doing such things? Concussive dampener is far more useful than any armor charge mod that I can think of. That third slot is so valuable. Well, I'm on about the armor resistance mod in your chest plate, right? It's better to run a concussive dampener than an armor charge mod. Armor charges are whatever, right? You can put them on. They're whatever. But really, ultimately, you need resistance against enemies in GMs. So it's the number one mistake I see by players is they run the wrong resistance. So it's arc threat, right? For this Lake of Shadows, right? So it would stand to reason that you would put double arc resist on a concussive dampener. That's false. See how you got it wrong? It seems that would be the case, but no, because you need to then think of, right, well, it's arc threat, all right. How many enemies are doing arc stuff? Right, well, Scions, okay, some of the legendaries, because it's Cabal-based stuff, so a lot of that stuff melts up close, but you fight them from a range, so it's not too bad. So, arc's not too much of a problem, but it would be worthwhile putting one arc resist on, yeah, and then one void to protect against this guy. Because if you don't, chances are this guy's going to kill you. So that's the thought process of how you do elemental resistance in GMs. And this applies to all GMs. You first need to know what enemy types are here, which champs, there's different types of champs, they do different types of elemental energy, you know, elements to you. So it's what's going to be a problem to you in the run. Solar's not a problem in the run. These wizards do solar, yes, but how much solar is there in this? Not a lot. There is the captains, the solar knights, but you're not up against them much. So that's how you come to the conclusion of the correct. It's like a quiz, isn't it? What's the correct resistance for this? You should know. Arc, void, concussive dampener. That is the correct answer. There's no better resistance than what I've just told you. So we're going to use a super here. I thought it would kill him in time, but it didn't. That's fine. We had a healing aid as a backup anyways. Always go with a backup plan. So my backup plan was if he didn't die, I would pop healing rift, whip out the LMG to take down the blights, the track and blights that is. And we'll just come back to safety. There's a load of taken thrall, but we're not going to deal with them at all. Just leave them. You can get ammo off them, but because of our ammo mods that we have on our boots, like kinetic scav, solar scavenger and stuff, I've got plenty of ammo to deal with everything. We'll finish them off with Forerunner because getting on my nerves a little bit. And that's that bit done. So be sure to pick up any ammo drops, of course. Special and heavy. Detonate the ship thing, which sometimes can bug out, by the way, but generally it's okay. But I have experienced bugs with that. It can happen. So ammo's not too important for Forerunner, so we can kind of spam it. because we've got Radiant, Machine Gun can act as an anti-barrier LMG anyways. So you can kind of spam it. So I'm going to use Forerunner when I feel as though it's necessary to do it. This bit here can be a potential wipe if you're not cautious and careful, because arc threat is on and generally isn't an issue apart from when you're fighting Cabal really close, because they have Legend of Acris on, don't they? That's what they have equipped. Think about it. That gun melts when we use it. It also melts when they use it. So just be careful, as I say, up close. Rely on strafing to the wall. Always use a piece of cover when you're up against like bits like this. We're using the Tyranny of Heaven, a solar bow. The reason why we're using it is because Incandescent's king this season, and it also rolls with explosive head for the craftable version, which people should be starting to craft this the Last Wish weapons by now, because or starting to make progress to them, because the new season of the Wish quests that came out, was it last reset or whatever, allows you to get red borders for them. So you should be making progress towards the weapons. Now the answer is, which weapon should you start with? If you're a new player and you don't have any Last Wish red borders, which one should you start with? Well, that's a good question. I would say for the solo player, it's the rocket or sniper. I would say rocket first. This is the order probably. Rocket first. It's a very, very important weapon because it has reconstruction on a rocket launcher, and it's just the go-to rocket, right? And it's got a lot of good things going for it. It has got bait and switch, but you can craft multiple variants of it. You can have an explosive light one, right? You can have the bait and switch one. You can have this version of it, that version of it, because you don't always want to run a bait and switch solar rocket. Sometimes you might want the explosive light version, which sometimes is a little better in solo content, depending on what you're doing exactly. It's less damage, yes, but sometimes, you know, all I'm saying is it's cheap to have multiple God Roll rockets. So that first, and then number two, it would be Supremacy, because Supremacy being a very ammo dump weapon, it's very good for Warlord's Ruin, the Solar Flawless. Right, it's very good for a lot of things with enhanced kinetic tremors, right? Or, you know, so those are the two most important weapons, and I think out of the primaries, it's got to be the bow, the next important weapon, and then the rest of the weapons probably Chatroom Bow with enhanced kinetic tremors, because that's good on overloads, right? And then auto rifle and Nation of Beast is good, but it's not an arc season. So it's one of the best hand cannons in the game, but like I say, right now that's one of the last things that you work on. So I've just give you the full order on what you would do. This isn't even a Last Wish video, but I've just told you quickly what you would do without you having to go and watch another video to find that out. I've told you all of it right now in this one. So that's the thing that lets me down. I give you too much information and get less of a payout off it, because all my information's condensed in my runs. So not only am I commentating on the run itself, telling you exactly what to do, but I'm giving you extra tips as we go along the way. They're hidden and buried in my videos. Whereas some other content creators, I'm sorry, not to call them, but they would actually just make a separate video, a 3-minute video on that topic to make more money off it, to siphon money out of you, because that's what a lot of them are doing. And that's just the nature of it. But I'm just telling you that I do myself out of views this way with the way I do content, because literally all I'm really interested in is doing runs. I'm not really interested in sitting in orbit and stuff and telling you builds and stuff like this. I'm interested in showing you builds and demonstration. I'm not interested in sitting in orbit. Okay, those people that sit in orbit, I hate it. When I see a video of somebody in their ship and they're sitting telling you and standing in, you know, looking at fragments and stuff for 10 minutes, I will click off the video right away. Unless it's something really, really unique that I don't know about. And they're all doing it. You know, like I say, it's an easy... They're baiting you as a player, especially for solo players. You'll waste so much time on YouTube and Twitch looking at builds that don't apply to you, that you shouldn't be using in the first place. And that is the reality of the situation, is where that if you want to know the best builds, then watch the best team and solo players that you can find to see what builds they're running, and that will give you the answer of what the best builds are. Rather than going to somebody who is an average player, but with an amazing thumbnail and an amazing grasp of the YouTube algorithm, maybe so, but their gameplay is lackluster. And this is it. You need to start going to people who are just organically going to tell you the option, rather than you have to go through ads of Raid Shadow Legends and stuff. Rather than having to go through all the pain of that, I'm telling you right now, right here, right, this is what you should run. Not particularly in this run. I mean, everything's right about it apart from Forerunner, but Forerunner is good. But there is other options that I could have run better. Like Wish Ender would have been a better option for this, right? I could have run double bow, Wish Ender, then Unstoppable Tyranny, and then the machine gun. That's a notable loadout, very good. It's going to serve anybody really well because you're doing massive damage from range with Wish Ender. It would melt the freshers quicker. It would speed that section up. But obviously, you know, if I run everything stock loadout runs, everything, you know, bare bones in terms of like creativity, then the video has less sort of watchability. Then it's just really standard. You know, it's just shooting practice with Wish Ender, right? Anyone could do that. It's that sort of thing. So there's a balance to be made. I will run meta stuff, but I'll also try and put little twists on it when possible, if I can. So this bit here with the freshers, you can have it so that freshers despawn. It's a risky strat though, so I didn't showcase it off. But there is a strat where you can do it, and I could have went over there and supered the freshers. I can't mind if I did do that in my previous run to disengage the fresher. I'm not sure if I did do that or not, but I know that you can do that. Like, you go to the back of the map, you kill the unstop, which is possible with Daybreak. You can actually kill one cycle that champ, but you would have to run over there quickly, right? No messing around before this. Well, the fresher would spawn in, I believe, but then the fresher despawns once you kill that unstop. So that would be a quicker way of doing it. It would save you a good chunk of time. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you can. I just didn't feel like doing that on this run because I just wanted to get the clear, get the video done, and that's it. Just to maintain the Destiny 2 content on the channel. That was all it was, just to quickly get it done. I'm not messing around. I wasn't wanting to mess around today with strats. Just wanted to get the run done quickly. That was it. In one go, and that was it. We'll use a bit of LMG ammo on this fresher. It wasn't worth using Forerunner on the fresher because Forerunner doesn't do that much damage to them. See, we are starting to get more perks in the game to deal with vehicles, right? But we're still at that point in the game where there's not enough vehicles in the game for us to care about using vehicle perks on guns like Deconstruct. This is the only case right now I can think of in the game where I would be like, right, I want to use a Deconstruct weapon to speed up the fresher section. There's two scenarios where it would help me right now. Well, if Arms Dealer was up, it would help me for that because there's a lot of freshers in that bit, and it would help me on this bit as well. Other than that, anywhere else in the game, where is Deconstruct helping us? There is the turrets in. I'm trying to think which mission. The Europa mission. Right, there's turrets in that section, so I suppose it would help against that, but to what degree? You know what I'm saying? So there's not enough vehicles in the game, enemy vehicles. There's not enough areas. Like, think about it, if you're going to fight against vehicles, then it would be on like a battlefield type area, right? Obviously it's battleground GMs, but that's what I'm referring to. So the designing perks for a problem that it doesn't really exist. Because all it would really do is help you kill a fresher quicker. Which they take long anyway. And if you're in a fire team, they're dying quickly anyways. So it's only a solo player would really benefit, and it would save them a few minutes. It's no big deal, you see what I'm saying? So the whole vehicle perk on guns thing is good, but they would have to up the density in vehicles. But I don't really want to fight against vehicles, if I'm being honest. Not in GMs, because they generally one-shot. They're not fun to fight against. Proving Grounds is a good example of this. I like fighting against tanks and stuff. Right, okay, fair enough, tanks. That's the only exception for me. But other than that, I don't really want to be fighting vehicles. It's not something I want to do. Unless they incorporate it in such a way where you're up against like 6 or 7 different vehicles and it's a big, massive open area. Fair enough, then I'm on board with that. But if it's in these small areas, like these small design strikes where you're up against freshers and stuff, I'm not really interested in it. But that's just what they're doing. So the area is now clear. We can now proceed to the boss. Obviously there's a Tormentor section, but we're going to skip that because, as I said before, I just wanted to get a video out. I'm not too fussed. I'm more focused on trying to boost the algorithm on my channel rather than trying to do, you know, particular runs. So we're going to use a super here, which will Icarus dash up to this location here. Then you wait till no turn back zone goes away, and then you just jump up again over there. It's really simple. But on a solo Warlock, I recommend you super up there, or you use heat rises. If you're on strand, then use your strand ability to get up there. Or you can do it, you know, if you're on a hunter, you can sort of jump right along. It's actually really difficult to do it, but this is a Warlock exclusive run, so I'm giving you the 2 options on how to do it. Either heat rises or Icarus dash with super, which I prefer Icarus dash with super, because I'm not using heat rises. Then to activate the boss fight itself, sure you've saw it, but you go to this doorway. Right, that then activates the Tormentor thing, whatever that's called. It says clear the blight. Kind of funny. It says clear the blight, but it's not a blight anymore, is it? It used to be a blight. It's now whatever that device is called. Yeah, so it's actually not a blight anymore. So they've actually got that wrong. Now this is the next exploit for the boss. So you want to jump up, and then you're jumping up to that location there. Heat rises would make this a little bit. I suppose it would make it a little bit easier, this bit, but it's really simple to do. Might take you 2 or 3 goes. Once you mantle like that, Icarus dash over on the roof, you get Join Allies, make sure you quickly get to the lip of this building, and then it's done. And that's your run, done. That's your run done then, at that point. So then you'll just, from now on, just see the damage of what Forerunner can do and what have you. What I noticed with it is barrier. It's a barrier sidearm, but it does massive damage to unshielded targets. It also sort of staggers them like what Unstoppable Rounds does. Watch the boss actually stagger, which is, it's an interesting, unique aspect to the gun because it is barrier. It's not, but it's actually acting as sort of a unstoppable weapon type thing. Because when you use an unstoppable weapon on, you know, bosses, you can stun them like that, like Leviathan's Breath and stuff like that. But look, it's actually stunning him, so that's a unique thing because it's actually allowing me to do more damage to him because he puts his shield up like so. You can't crit him. If a knight, solo knight, starts to attack you, melt them down. Especially if they're in middle, because there is a risk of death up here if a solo knight does the flames. So be careful of that. Shoot to loot would work. I know that's what you're thinking right now when you're up here, but I see a lot of people running shoot to loot. But here's the thing with the shoot to loot thing, right? It is a good perk. It's actually a really good perk, and it presents its own gameplay style. But it just depends on what you're doing. Like for this right now, yeah, shoot to loot would be good, but that means you're running. I don't even know if this bow has shoot to loot. I can't mind if it does or not. But there's other shoot to loot bows I could have run. But I'd still rather have a God Rule bow over than having a shoot to loot one. So with this explosive payload and incandescent stacking together like they do, it makes it a fantastic weapon type. I value that more than shoot to loot. Unless it's a place where I need to be shooting armor bricks quite often, then fair enough, put on the shooter loop bow. But obviously if you're using a shooter loop bow, you wouldn't have explosive payload and incandescent on it, because there's only 2 per columns, not 3. So you see the decision making I'm making on that. But I know that it is useful at times. You know, it just depends what you're doing. Like the Moon GM, where you exploit on top of the roof, a shoot-to loot weapon will be really valuable for that bit, because you can't get access to that ammo right away if you're doing the exploit as it is. So it's just really, as I say, what you're fancying. Another reason why I don't like shoot-to loot is 'cause sometimes it'll pick up a brick that you don't want. Yeah. Especially if it's synergized with like an incandescent or something. It'll pick that brick up. That is very wasteful, especially if you're using like a rocket launcher. Because with rockets, you really need to manage your ammo properly. You know, especially if it's like a field prep one and you've got scavenger on, you're getting like 3 or 4 rockets per brick. If you've got 6 rockets and it caps at 8, and you've picked up the brick, you've just wasted 2 rockets. You see what I'm saying? Because you've had your incandescent bow stack with the shooter loot and it's sort of messed up. So I don't like it messing up my ammo efficiency, and that's what it ends up doing. I have had it happen. It all depends. Everything's dependent on what you're doing and what your loadout is. But I'm just giving you arguments on pros and cons regarding, like, you know, shoot to loot and stuff, as opposed to just using a god roll weapon that suits you well and suits your playstyle, which I'm generally on the other end of the scale. I prefer just to have a god roll weapon that I like using, and that's that. There's not many places in the game where shoot to loot is like required to do something. There's not really that many places, honestly, and that's me talking as well on a solo perspective, and I'm obviously mainly a solo player and soloing. Like, think about it. People have soloed stuff when shoot to loot didn't exist. So what, are they going to start to not be able to solo it now because shoot loot's come out and been buffed? The answer is obviously no. It doesn't matter, does it? People soloed it before it, so they can solo it after it. Very straightforward. I forgot honestly about my machine gun ammo, so we'll spam that now. I was focused more on just getting Radiant and using Forerunner, but we'll finish the boss off with the machine gun. Obviously you can use your super here. Don't jump with it or anything like that, because you will end up falling down at the map. We've run out of Forerunner. That's fine though, the boss is just about dead. And obviously we can keep debuffing him over and over. That's the beauty of Conqueror, is you keep getting your melee ability back to debuff with the Revitalize and Blast. But that was a solo GM on this with Forerunner. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.